mwebale kureba Stars TV ndabajya mu kimurakora n'icyo mutano munonga kandi omuri akakanya twatunga omuchago kuba n'omuntu omutano munonga no muchara aho binji murasa kuba mwahurireho nangwa n'abatakamanyire mwaza kutunga omuchago kuganira nawe no kumanya ecyari so tutakagenzire mu misho ndakwebaza kugira ngo achora kora nechamani munonga kandi ubari kuma oyikumire Stars TV so omuchara utu atayiseri izoba baramweta Kalembe Nancy Linda na nomuchara oyisimbire ahantebe yowa president aiko akakanira no kuba president wihangeri so nko muchara tine binji ebitu tutejerize kuruga omuriwe kandi katugambe nawe tumanye ebyatwinire nibi you're welcome.
Thank you.
Could you please introduce yourself to some people out there who would possibly not be knowing on those or even those who already know you?
My name is Kalembe Nancy Linda, the only female presidential candidate in this race. I am happy to be in one of the hottest regions in the country, Kabale. It is very hot here, as you can see.
Definitely. Yeah.
The reception was good. The people of Kabale, in spite the fact that it is a very cold place, they're very warm-hearted, and they gave me one of the best welcomes I have received in any other part of this country. So I thank them very much.
And it's a pleasure to have you on Stars TV. Now, let's jump straight into what brought us here. How has been the journey, as the only female presidential candidate? How has been the journey from the right wing till this point?
The journey has been okay. It's had a few challenges here and there, but there's no challenge that has happened to me because I'm a woman. The challenges that I've faced are because I am running for presidency in a country where running for presidency is like treason, is equated to treason. So none of the challenges I've faced on this journey are related to being a woman. I think the gender differences are overrated. Uganda right now needs a leader, a different kind of leader, a leader whose resolute is to change this country in peace. And regardless of whether the leader is male or female, it does not matter. It just happens to be that right now, of all the presidential candidates who are running for this post right now, a woman just happens to be best placed. I always say leadership has nothing to do with male or female, though women tend to be better leaders, but it has nothing to do with male or female. Society has done it that way for many years because they wanted to lock women out of certain positions and places.
Yeah.
So I believe I'm the best candidate of all the ones that are running currently. And Ugandans need to know that leadership has nothing to do with your sexual orientation, but everything to do with your mind and your heart.
Yeah, now putting something aside with COVID-19, because it's been the worldwide pandemic, and still it is. So alongside COVID-19, with the standard SOPs, with everything that has to do with COVID, how have you survived in this time due to your campaign?
First and foremost, my campaign, as people have already seen and heard, is really grounded in the Word of God. Ultimately, we are still alive because God is protecting us. There's no such thing as I've been too careful. We are human beings. You forget a few things. You touch where you're not supposed to touch and forget and touch your face. So we are only safe because God has decided that we should be safe. Simple. Last night I was thinking about how cold this place is. And it's been said that COVID-19 thrives in places that are cold. And in the countries, the Scandinavian countries, COVID basically ravaged them very badly. So while I was in Kabale last night, I was thinking to myself, it's not the cold, it's God. He's protected the people of Kabale. Are you telling me that there are no cases that have happened in Kabale? Why isn't the whole of Kabale wiped out? It is God. Not how careful people are, not the weather, not anything.
Right. Now, looking at your bio, Kalembe Nanselita, formerly she has been a journalist. So as a journalist, and now, what do you think has not been addressed to the extent of you leaving your career as a journalist so that you can officially be in politics?
I think when you say I've been a journalist, you have boxed me in only one space. As you say, you've read my bio. I am a very multifaceted human being. And the reason I decided to join this journey, this race, is because our country has a leadership gap that needs to be addressed urgently. The kind of country I want my children to grow up in, my grandchildren and great-grandchildren to grow up in, is not that Uganda that we see. A lot of people talk about security as being the presence of army men all over the place, guns being held. I have been to countries where you never see an army man. You see police occasionally, mostly traffic. When you look at countries like Switzerland, you can actually go through without seeing a policeman. When you go to European countries, you will only see traffic, and sometimes you don't even see them. So security is not the presence of guns all over our streets, because this is actually a threat to the people. You're constantly in fear when you see army men around. So when we look at our country, I think it is in dire need of great leadership. We have had good leaders, we have had bad leaders, currently we have a military leader. But we need a civilian leader for our country to be truly civilized and to grow.
Okay. So, as per your motto, it says, leaving no one behind. What kind of people, or what category do you think has been left out in this whole thing of the leadership, service provision, and the rest of these things?
Basically, as I've always said, that Uganda needs to be a meritocracy if we are going to grow. We should stay away from tribalism and all kinds of sins. There's nepotism. We choose people to be in positions because they are related to us, or because they're in our political parties, or because they're our tribe or religion, and that needs to stop. So when we say leaving no one behind, it means as long as you're Ugandan, that's the first qualification for you to access services. As long as you're Ugandan, that's the first qualification for you to get a job in any organization or any department, whether government or private. As long as you're Ugandan, that's the first qualification for you to get access to health, business contracts, and all that. You've had it said before that we shall not wait for Karamoja to develop. As I went through Karamoja, I saw that statement live. Because the way Karamoja is, and the way the rest of Uganda is, surely someone has forgotten about Karamoja. And in my time as president, this has to change. We need to forget that statement that we shall not wait for Karamoja to develop. We've seen a lot of places, we've gone through. Currently I am the presidential candidate who has visited the most number of districts. I started off in the east, went to the north, and now I'm in Western Uganda. And one of the things I have realized is infrastructure is in the town centers. And then outside the towns, you find poverty, you find pain, you find lack of infrastructure and all kinds of things. There's hardly schools in most of the parts in the country because our leaders have decided that they will improve the hospitals that they need to go to. They'll improve the schools that their children go to. As we speak currently, a lot of school children are not in school. And yet, most of the children who belong to, if you're lucky enough and your children just happen to go to the same schools as the people in authority, then your children will be in school. So those imbalances that have been happening in our society are some of the things we want to get rid of. That's why our motto is we're leaving no one behind. We are all Ugandans. We cannot talk about economic development without thinking about everybody from the lowest income earning person. Now, we know that it is said that a team is as strong as its weakest link. For as long as there is abject poverty in our community, people who cannot even afford a meal a day, we are lying to ourselves when we say that Uganda has developed. Until we can have a certain level across the country, then we will be truly growing. I don't believe in growth being on city streets and maybe in the central district. No. I believe that Uganda can truly claim that they are growing from either third world to middle income status to first world country when the weakest link in our country is stronger than what it is right now.
Yeah, now with this, I have to be much more direct. It has become so obvious that every leader who is either from the opposition or independent, there is that kind of security pressure always pushed onto them. So what do you have to say about it? Because it has now become the game of the day and everyone is now used to it. Some people have said it's normal. Yet in actual sense, some people have suffered. Some families have ended up losing relatives, losing people who are supposed to take care of them in that same process of pushing pressure onto candidates from the other side of opposition.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. The way the current government is handling anyone who's decided to run for presidency in this country is it's a signal that their time is over. You've heard the phrase, the last kicks of a dying horse. Obviously, this horse is dying, and these are the last kicks that it's trying to, to try and sustain life in it. Unfortunately, the men and women in uniform have been used like rags to put pressure where they shouldn't be putting pressure. As I said earlier, when we were just starting out, running for presidency in this country is like treason. And a lot of times the incumbent doesn't care who's dying and who's leaving. As long as he retains power, he doesn't care who dies. That is why there are orders from above to open fire in places where there are clearly a lot of civilians. This government doesn't care about the human life. That is why it is important that we get rid of military leaders in our country for a civilian leader so that we can have more civilization. Right now we are slowly deteriorating into barbarianism. And that is what happens when you have military leaders at the helm of power in a country. When they fail to negotiate, they only know one go-to place: the gun. Kill them, oppress them until they listen. If they can't obey in love, then they will obey with fear. So the current government has been running this nation on fear, mostly. So Ugandans have an opportunity. We've seen it in other countries where military leaders have been put out of office. If Ugandans really love this country, they need to vote right.
Yeah, now I guess I have to let you talk to the people, ask for the vote and tell them what you're ready to do and not only as a president, but also as a native, I can say as someone who is a Ugandan.
My fellow Ugandans, there are over 17 million voters in this country. And that is the voice that is needed to change this government. We have seen the youth fight, but their fight has cost lives. I'm therefore calling upon the mothers of this nation, the women of this nation, to take the fight to the ballot paper. Out of the 17 million, over 9 million are female voters. Many countries, we've seen examples like Sierra Leone. When everything else had failed, it is the women who got up and changed the nation. Women of Uganda, you have over 52% of the national vote. I am asking you, if we all voted right, and this time have a woman in leadership, our nation will change for the better without bloodshed. Because it's only women who can actually get into office and care about people's lives, because we understand what it means to bring our life into this world. My fellow mothers and women, I'm therefore calling upon you to talk to your sons and daughters. Talk to your husbands and friends, neighbors, and all those you come across, whether it's workmates or friends. Talk to them. This government has threatened us with the army, and they've said they have the Maje. And I'm kindly asking you, let's vote right this time. Vote for Kalembe Nancy Linda for a peaceful change. We don't need tear gas. We don't need to bury our children. No leader should get into office while sacrificing the lives of Ugandans. We need our children alive, and therefore I ask you, because your children listen to you, your husbands listen to you, ask them to vote right this time, and let's have a peaceful change in this country. Men and women of this country, the youth, our fathers too. I don't only need the vote of the women, I need your votes too. Let's work together, because it's only a woman that is going to be indiscriminating, non-partisan. I'm an independent candidate, and I have asked all Ugandans, as my slogan goes, leaving no one behind. Please vote for me, so that we can end the tribalism in this country. We can end the tribal divide. We can close the gap of tribal divide. We can close the gap that has been created by religious divisions. We can close the gap that has been created by political divide. And let us all be Ugandans, because different parties only continue to divide us. We need to be one. We need to be Ugandans. Let's have a peaceful change. Vote for Kalembe Nancy, the only female presidential candidate on that ballot paper. My symbol is a ball. May God bless you, for God and my country.
Thank you so much. For the interest of time, we've not been able to go more than that. But the thing is, we are going to organize and have Kalembe Nancy much more talk about different things on Days TV. I say thank you for watching, and may the good Lord bless you. Have a very good morning.